Time is more valuable than money. A.W. Tozer said it this way: time is a resource that is non-renewable and non-transferable. You cannot store it, slow it up, hold it up, divide it up, or give it up. You can't hoard it up or save it for a rainy day. When it's lost, it is unrecoverable. And when you kill time, you have to remember that there is no resurrection. So you need to understand that you should treasure time as the most valuable asset that you have been given in this world. So we can learn the importance of time when we learn to treasure it, and when we learn to invest it. As I said, time is more valuable than money, but it's like money in that it can be spent and invested. It's different from money, though, because while money can be saved, time can't. If you don't use it, you lose it forever. In the early 1970s, there was a singer by the name of Jim Croce, and he wrote a song that said this: "If I could save time in a bottle, the first thing I'd like to do is to save every day till eternity passes away, just to spend it with you." Now those are great lyrics. It's probably kind of the idea you've had over 50 years. And it would be nice if we could save time. But you can't, you see. In matter of fact, a few months after he had wrote that song, he was tragically killed in a plane crash at the age of 30. You can't save time. At a graduation commencement at his alma mater, Wheaton College, Billy Graham said this: "Time is the capital that God has given us to invest in people. People are the stocks in which we are to invest our time, whether they're blue chip or penny stock or even junk bonds." So the question is, where are you investing your time? There are 168 golden hours in each week. And the average person will spend about 56 of those hours sleeping, about 24 of those hours in eating and personal hygiene, about 50 of those hours working or traveling to work. And that means that there are only about 35 hours a week that you could call discretionary time that are left over. That's about 5 hours a day. So here's a question: where are you investing those hours? How much of that discretionary time are you devoting to God? How much are you devoting to your family? A university study of 1,500 households found mothers working outside the home spend an average of 11 minutes a day on weekdays and 30 minutes a day on weekends with the children, not including mealtime. It also said that fathers spent on the average of 8 minutes a day on weekdays and 14 minutes a day on weekends in different activities with their children. Now, have you ever heard this excuse? Have you ever heard some mom or dad say, "Well, you know, I don't spend much time with my family, but the little time I do spend is quality time"? Now, I really don't like that phrase because it is often most used as an excuse for not spending much time together. Think about it. Quality time. Quality time is really a misnomer because all time is quality. Consider that second. Is it of any more quality than that second? Or that one, or that one? Think about this. If I offered you a $100 bill, Would you say to me, no, I'm not going to take that, it's all wrinkled. I'd rather have that new, crisp $5 bill because it's a better quality. Yeah, you know the answer. I prefer the phrase fun family time or meaningful family time. But that is no substitute for investing a large quantity of time with your family. If they are important, you'll indicate it by the amount of discretionary time you give to them. Rick Warren, in his now famous book, Purpose-Driven Life, said this: relationships take time and effort. And the best way to spell love is T-I-M-E. And what about those 50 hours that you spend at work? You know, that time at work with all those people you work with can be used, can be invested in building relationships with them and helping them to grow and to understand what life is about. Now, I know that you have to get your work done. As a matter of fact, the Bible tells us that when we have a task to do, when we have work to do, we are to do it with excellence. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever may be your task, work at it heartily from the soul, as something done to the Lord and not for men. So I understand that we have to get our work done. But while we are doing our work, we are to spend time building relationships so that we might one day have the opportunity to tell our co-worker about the love of God. Paul said this in Colossians: behave yourselves wisely, living prudently and with discretion in your relationship with those of the outside world, non-Christians, making the very most of every time and seizing the opportunity. Let your speech at all times be gracious, pleasant, and winsome, seasoned, as it were, with salt, so that you may never be at a loss to know how you ought to answer anyone who puts a question to you about God. We need to invest our time in the important things of life, the people in our lives. We will learn the importance of time when we treasure it, when we invest it, and when we learn how to manage it. A time management expert was teaching a seminar for executives, and he placed a large, clear, open-mouthed jar in the front of the group. Next, he put 7 or 8 large stones into the jar until it was full. And he asked his audience, "Is it full?" Everyone nodded, "Yeah, it's full." He then took some small pebbles and he filled up the jar with the small rocks until they reached the brim. He said to his audience, "Is it full now?" Some nodded and some thought, "Okay, what's going on here?" Well, then he proceeded to take some sand and he poured fine sand into this jar. And he said, "Is it full now?" And people all knew something was happening. And then finally he took some water and he poured water into the jar. And he filled it up. And he says, "What's the lesson here about time management?" Well, hands shot up and people were ready to give an answer. And everyone agreed that no matter how busy you are, you can always fit more things into your schedule. And the leader of the seminar just shook his head. And he said, "Wrong. The lesson is this. Unless you put the big rocks in first, they'll never fit in. You must figure out what the big rocks are for you in your life. What are the big rocks? What are the most important things in your life? Like giving time to God, giving time to your marriage or to your children. If you don't put those big rocks in first, someone else is going to fill up your time, your schedule,